I'm pleased to welcome David Ciccarelli, CEO of Voices.com. Be sure to ask your questions to the Explorer during the interview with the hashtag GlassLive on Twitter or Google+. Hello, David.
Hi, how are you? It's great to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
You're welcome. May you introduce yourself for a start?
Well, again, as you gave me a kind introduction, my name is David. I've started a company with my wife, actually, almost 10 years ago, called Voices.com. And so I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and really what we do, just very briefly, is provide a web service where companies such as advertising agencies and video production companies can search for, audition, and then hire voice actors. You know, the people that do voices in explainer videos and commercials, video games, on phone systems, and so forth. So we have a global marketplace that helps these two parties connect with each other.
Yeah, we browsed your site yesterday, and we've seen the voice of the Voltaren product,
Oh, really? Okay,
who is
great.
really famous in
Yeah.
France, and it was really fun to see the face of the man who is behind that voice.
And he probably looks totally different than what you imagined in your head,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, totally. So let's talk about Glass. How did you get
Yes.
it?
So I, like many other people, I had filled out the contest on Twitter. That was the If I Had Glass contest, and I had actually I was living in Silicon Valley at the time. So I, heard from some people that this was happening. Of course, it was all over the web at the time. And I actually entered twice. The one that got the reply back from Google that seemed to kind of catch their ear was that I said I would do something incredibly entrepreneurial, and as an audio engineer, it would involve sound or the human voice. So I figured something with Glass that I could incorporate into kind of our main company, Voices.com. At the time, I didn't even really think that there was going to be ways that you could actually hear, or there was sound or speakers. I really didn't know anything about it, but I thought, oh, well, if there is, I want to be, hopefully gain that kind of first mover advantage and understand the new technology.
All right, so quickly, what is your point of view on Glass and the wearable computing? Is it really the future of technology?
It's definitely the future of technology. I can tell you not only from personal experience, but from everyone that I've shown Google Glass to, they're blown away. And kind of case in point was that we held an open house at our office where we put up an Eventbrite page and we said, hey, is anybody interested in checking out Google Glass? Come on down and just register here. And we thought maybe like 20, 30 people would come. We had 200 people register and show up for this event. So I gave a quick 10-minute presentation kind of explaining like my first week with Glass and how it works, that you navigate forwards and backwards, and how you can even tilt your head back to turn it on. So just I kind of went through the basics of Google Glass, and then I gave demos for the next couple hours. I think it was like 3-hour line to get a 1 or 2 minute demo of where I would literally take Glass off, put them on people, and let them show them how it worked, and then let them drive through. And basically navigate through some of the cards and some of the material and content that I had on Glass at the time, and everyone was just like, "Yep, it's definitely, definitely the future." And just, I think more than anything, people seeing the potential of what it could be. Maybe not in this exact form, but I think people can grasp that that's the evolution of the smartphone moving into a wearable computing device.
So you're saying that Glass, the today version of Glass, won't be in that form in the future, and it has to be a different way to work.
Well, there's a couple things that, first of all, I'm a huge advocate. I think Google's done an amazing job for a product like this. One, it looks great, and people, almost view it as, a fashion accessory to a degree. So it does look great, and they got a lot of the basic stuff right. I mean, generally it's pretty intuitive to use. But when I think when you get to some of the things that people want to do right off the bat, they're expecting this whole kind of like panorama of screens, right? Or they want to make the screen bigger. So there's a lot of those kind of I guess expectations because of some of the demo videos that are out there, that you're expecting this whole kind of different layers and so forth, or the augmented reality. But the concept is there, the potential is there. Another area that I feel like would be significantly an improvement would be incorporating some kind of hand gestures or motion gestures. So, for example, scrolling through. Well, a good case is like taking a photo. Like if I don't even want to say anything, I should just be able to like kind of zoom in on you and go like make that sign. Or if I wanted to, if I'm seeing something on Glass on the web page, then to scroll up and down a page, it should be almost like going vertically instead of side to side. So just different ideas like that I'm kind of coming up with, that I'm like, oh, I want to click on a link that's out here. Rather than clicking on something that's why the iPad is really so beautiful, because you're clicking, and all touch screens really, you're clicking on the exact thing, you're interacting with the device and moving the page around, zooming in and out and scrolling up and down with the page, whereas Glass is projected out, the image is projected out in front of you. You almost want to move and touch that kind of floating image. So I think Google will get there. I mean, there's technology on the market that does that now. So that's why I say it's definitely the future, just maybe not in the same shape and form and interaction that is currently offered.
Right, I see what you're saying. So during the If I Had Glass program, you applied saying you would start a company helping people to capture and organize the video content they created with Glass.
Mm-hmm.
Did you already started that project?
So I did, and it's already kind of taken a bit of a shift, because the winning basically tweet, if you will, the winning tweet was, as I mentioned, I'd submitted the two, so that was one of the two, but the one that actually Google had replied back to was around really a company more to do with sound or the human voice. And so that is a company that has been started, and I would call it in stealth mode right now, and we're digging through the Glass Mirror API, building out our kind of web services backend to support basically content publishing, video sharing in just a bit of a different way than what's currently offered on the market today. So the company's kind of we've incorporated another company, and we've got some people dedicating some resources, time, and energy towards that. So we're hoping kind of within the next couple of months we'll have something that can be officially announced.
I asked because we talked about development on Glass with a French explorer yesterday.
Yes.
And do you develop on Glass?
Not myself. I consider I would say expertise is more on the business side of things. Have done some design work through our website and responsive design, and I really enjoy that process. But in terms of the actual coding, it's a little bit out of my area of expertise.
Okay, because he told us that the Mirror API wasn't that great, and he's waiting for a bigger release to be up next a few months ago. And he told us that Glass was really limited by the API, the current API. Your business that you're starting with Glass is including, does it include developing, or is it just a website? Or
it definitely includes developing. So the one gentleman that's had been working with or that is currently working with the Mirror API, definitely heard similar feedback as well. That the good news is that he's done a lot of Android development work, so apparently there's a lot of similarities between these two development platforms. So from that perspective, there's just a lot of, I think development is one piece of running a successful company. Obviously, there's a lot more complexities that go into that. The funding and financing, the getting some initial customers, the proving the initial concept. And as you said, a lot of it is going to be web-based and web-driven anyway. So we feel that we can, we needed to start with the kind of like the database and web services back end to support Glass. So we're kind of we're taking that approach to it. But in terms of kind of the number of hours that my colleagues have spent actually digging through the API, I couldn't pin a number down on it for you.
And do you have to give your feedback to Google on the evolution of the project you applied for with If I Had Glass?
Not that I'm nothing in terms of contractually. As far as I went to New York to pick up Google Glass and went through really that 2-hour training session with the guide, and upon kind of leaving, that there was no real aside from pointing out that there's an amazing community, the Glass community, and giving some resources within the My Glass portal. There really wasn't anything that I saw or heard of that there was I guess a legal obligation. But again, having said all that, I would like to feel pretty generous with the time and feedback that I've provided back to Google. Just some of the things that we've talked about here. I wrote this amazing article on how to give a great demo to people, because just handing somebody Google Glass and go, okay, try it, people aren't going to get quite the right experience, because often they'll literally put it on wrong because they're trying to they think the crystal display needs to be in the middle. They don't understand how to swipe, or they're swiping too high back and forth. So there is an art, almost like a performance, to giving a good Google Glass demo that makes people go, wow, okay, I get the concept of a timeline. Oh, I understand what these cards are. Oh, you can actually, it's actually pretty flexible. You don't need to be so gentle and careful with it. And to tap on the side, give it a good tap. So there's a lot of those kind of things that that I've gone really out of my way to document, and I have posted that back to Google as well. So hopefully that helps other Glass explorers too.
Would you say that since you have Glass, it fulfilled your dreams?
Definitely
you heard about it?
Yeah, my expectations, certainly. I mean, I really went in pretty open-minded, not having a huge expectation. The things that it does well, it does extremely well. Taking photos. Well, first of all, being hands-free. So I find the voice recognition pretty good, especially for the commands to do the OK Glass, take a picture, record a video. All that is awesome. The kind of first full day of having Glass, my son and I, who's 10, we were in New York for his 10th birthday, so which is kind of why I brought him along for the whole trip. And we went to Central Park the next day, and we went to the museum and the art gallery and the zoo, and just walking through the park. I mean, it was such an amazing experience to be able to kind of have water bottle in one hand, backpack, I was holding his hand some of the times, like we're pointing at things, and just being able to take photos very, very quickly of something that's quickly passing you by, or you just see something, more so than kind of walking around and taking a photo with your smartphone. So I found those kind of life capture moments was just, it was easier and a lot more fun to do. So from that perspective, definitely kind of fulfilled the expectation, and I've just really enjoyed wearing them.
Great. So, saying you walked all day long with Glass at the zoo in New York. What was were there reactions, strange reactions by other people? Did they ask them what are you wearing?
Definitely. There were um, it's been really kind of amusing because some people understand what Google Glass is and they'll outright walk right up to you and go, "Wow, that's Google Glass. That's really cool." And then you have people who might have heard something and they're too nervous to say anything, so they'll be maybe walking with a friend and they'll be like, "Is that Google Glass?" And you just like kind of my ears are open for this kind of stuff, so I'm wearing them and I can pick up on it. Um, and then there's other people who just kind of look at you strangely and they're curious is really the best way to describe it. And if I see somebody almost like looking back at me enough, like I'll literally walk right up to them in a restaurant or Starbucks and I'll be like, "Oh, I bet you're wondering what I'm wearing. It's called Google Glass." And they go, "Oh, I think I've heard something about that." And so I go, "Oh, do you want to, I'll say like, well, what I see is this like floating screen out there and it's kind of like the internet that you're wearing and you can look at it through this little crystal display." And once I kind of explain that little one sentence what it is, and then I'll go, "Oh, do you want to give them a try?" And I've probably like 99 out of 100 people have said yes. Like one person was working, so she felt like it was inappropriate or something, but everyone else is like, "Well, that sounds really cool." As I said, it's the curiosity element. So I mean, it's been really kind of all over the spectrum of reactions based upon the level of awareness that people have.
All right, so what is the next step for you with Glass?
I think it's still, like I guess the title that Google has given us. It's still in that kind of exploratory phase. I mean, understanding more so than just the technology and how it works, which is they've done a great job with giving monthly updates. So all that's been really cool. But for me personally, I think it's understanding where does Google Glass fit into my daily life, and when is the right time to wear it, when is not. Just like there's what I call the social etiquettes or social norms. Similarly, you wouldn't bring out a mobile phone and at the dinner table and start talking on it. It's kind of like with Google Glass. What I've discovered, and I'm not sure if other people that you've spoken with, is that if I walk into a place and I actually have them on the top of my head, it eliminates a lot of the concern and anxiety versus walking into a Starbucks and just looking somebody straight in the eye and just making them feel uncomfortable. Oftentimes, like especially if I go to a business meeting or some kind of function, I always put them on top of my head first and then let somebody kind of approach me. I just find that I'm learning those type of behavioral norms and what's appropriate and what's not. That's the part of discovery that I'm really enjoying, almost as I say, like the social aspects of Google Glass.
All right, so let's talk about Glass in general. We're only in a testing version, as you said, with 8,000 explorers around the world. How do you think, in your personal opinion, Glass will enter the full market?
Wow. The price is a huge factor for people, because that's one of the things that people always ask me. Basically, the two questions are, when is it available? After they get a demo and they're like, think it's pretty cool. When is it available and how much is it going to cost? And from my understanding, I believe Eric Schmidt, the chairman of Google, had mentioned to the BBC in the UK that it would be somewhere around like late 2014. So is that, if that sounds about right to you? So let's call it 12 months from now. I think that's a lot of time to kind of continue these, keep the momentum up, which I think Google can do. If they can do that, as well as get the price point down where it's equivalent to a smartphone, then in the range of $300 to $500, 300-500 euro, anywhere around there, and possibly subsidized by one of the telecommunications carrier, Orange, Vodafone, AT&T, whoever it may be. If it was basically free with a 2-year contract, I bet you would get a lot of people, buying Glass. I think it will be because it's such a different technology, a lot of people looked at the iPad and go, well, why would that work? And you have to remember, Google Glass, everyone's so like, oh, well, I would never use that in my personal life. Okay, but maybe the biggest market for Google Glass is not everyday people. Maybe it's the commercial and industrial uses, doctors, paramedics, the military, people in manufacturing. Maybe it's commercial entirely, and so you get big organizations that were ordering Blackberries back in the day by basically the hundreds of thousands. And then now iPads are the same way. A lot of pilots, a lot of pilots using iPads instead of pen and paper, or car technicians. I mean, the same type of I guess technology kind of evolution could happen with glass, where you just need to have people that are hands-free, that need kind of information inbound to them, and be able to dictate back something quickly, to take a note or to do some kind of information capture. Insurance agents is another thought that comes to mind. So that's why I think it's kind of a difficult question to answer. It may not be good from people lining up at stores or making a whole bunch of purchases online. I think there's a bigger case for the business purchase than any other kind of user group.
Right, thanks. And we talked with 7 explorers before you.
Yes.
One out of the 7 told us that she used glass in her personal life. The others, like surgeon, people working in the paramedics business, kind of professional use of glass. They use glass in their professional life.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're not many explorers to use glass in your personal life, and the model you described is releasing the project to brands, to companies, and then spreading them to the public. I think personally that it will be the model used by Google to develop glass.
Mm-hmm.
And talking about that, do you think glass will have an impact, a real impact on our society?
I mean, definitely. I mean, there's education. It just goes kind of back to all of those different interest groups. The education market. I could see people. I guess there's that story about, as you said, the surgeon who is now can record or live stream or do the hangout, basically with conducting the operation and teaching people within the same room exactly what he sees, as opposed to the overhead camera that notoriously got his head in the way. So I think there's a lot of, the way it would impact society. I would say one would be, we'll learn better and learn differently. There would be the potential for any technology has the potential for great good or great evil and great harm, right? So they'll need to be advocates and people in place that are teaching everyone what is appropriate and what is not, because as much as I think it's common sense to not wear Google Glass, to be honest, like in the bathroom, I would never wear Google Glass in a public restroom, or driving. Those seem obvious to me, but other people might think it's fine. So I think those are the challenges that everyone will need to understand and face, and maybe we can work through some of those bigger issues together. But I do think it's a force for good in the long run.
So you're saying that you do not drive with glass?
I don't. No, I can't picture a scenario where I would need Google Glass that I'm wearing. The one time I have been in a car driving, as I said, as I'm putting them on my head, why? why would I try to be kind of fiddling with something?
Yeah.
Yeah, you had asked me, do I drive with Google Glass? And I really can't picture a scenario where it would be needed. I can only imagine situations where I could get in an accident, and I feel entrusted in part by Google to really, behave correctly and be an example to what Google Glass can potentially do. Yes, you can take wonderful photos, you can learn new things, you can take videos from different perspectives, you can get information faster and do Google searches a lot faster than you could ever type them out. And so since Google, I feel, has given me that privilege to participate in this program, I would never want to do anything that's harmful. And to me, my personal opinion is that driving with wearing Google Glass at the same time, there's more likelihood of there being an accident than not.
All right. I guess you're the only one to not drive with glass, because the others are saying that it's not distracting. They're saying that future apps will help people to drive, like the GPS, like apps that wake you up when you're starting to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe glass isn't as dangerous driving as a smartphone is.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would agree with that completely, because a smartphone, you're literally looking right down at something, whereas glass, at least you're kind of still have your peripheral vision, within sight. So, again, I think it just comes down to I would hate to be the first person to get in a car accident wearing Google Glass, and that's the thing. So I've just made that decision that until that story breaks and somebody that happens, and I don't know. It makes me feel uncomfortable. I think I would have more to lose and not a whole lot to gain, because there's no apps like that right now. I mean, the GPS. I have the good fortune of having a GPS in my car. I'm often, so if I'm traveling great distances, then I'm looking at the GPS in the car, and Google Glass probably wouldn't be on my head the whole time. So, as I said, I can't picture a scenario where it's needed at present.
All right, I completely understand.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, glass is a bit scary because of lack of privacy or what it looks like. What is your opinion on that?
I really don't see glass as being any more scary than a smartphone. And yes, there's the argument that it's almost like, it's not that it's always on, and that's again a misconception, that Google Glass is always recording everything that you see, and that's just simply not true. First of all, I have to wake Google Glass up, right? So now that it's on, then I either need to tap, and you're going to see somebody doing this, or I need to say, okay, Glass, take a picture. So I just took your picture, but you know what I'm saying? Somebody needs to speak it out. So you're either going to see somebody, doing some actions with their finger, or they're going to be saying it. And I think it's a lot more subtle. For some reason, I don't have my smartphone on me, but I think it's a lot more subtle. Because texting is so commonplace that somebody could be doing this, right, and actually be taking a picture of somebody in front of them. So, as I said, it comes down to, it's not the technology's fault that there's privacy violations. It's the people who decide to do something good or bad with it. And so for that reason, I'm not personally afraid or scared of wearing glass. I am respectful of that other people are concerned, which is why, again, I walk into places with glass on my head this way. But if I'm, walking through a public square or a street or in a park, then yeah, I'll wear glass normally, just because that's, pretty commonplace to everyone else. I think it's an over-exaggerated notion that frankly, that there even is privacy right now anyway. I mean, there's so much in the news about that issue. Yes, it's heightened awareness, but my view is you really shouldn't be doing anything on the internet or anything anywhere that you wouldn't want, you know, your friends and family and parents to see anyway. So if you live by that rule, then you really have nothing to hide.
So you already answered half the question. The next question I was
Okay.
about to ask. This question was, what would be the two main misunderstandings about glass?
Yeah. So I guess to recap, one, that it's always recording, which it's not, or that it's always listening to you, and that somebody can run up to you and say, "Okay, Glass, you know, Google search this," and you know, something that you don't want to see, or have a history of you visiting some website. That's just not the way that it works. As I said, you have to turn it on first, just like you pull out a smartphone. You have to wake it from sleep. So I think that's a misunderstanding, that it's just this always on device. I would say something else is, you know, that it necessarily, well, I guess that there's all these apps and you can do a whole lot with it, and I think that's why Google not only has the Glass Explorer program, but there's developers working on building amazing things for it right now. So right out of the gate, I think there's maybe a half dozen apps, you know, social networks and news, but aside from that, you know, and Google has its kind of suite of apps that are available. But aside from that, you know, it's not going to replace the smartphone like in, you know, 1 month or the day that it comes out. There'll be a whole transition period because people are become very comfortable. Just look at how long it took, basically 20 years, an entire generation, to go from computers to mobile computing. And so it might take 5, 10, or 20 years to go from, you know, mobile computing to really wearable technology that, you know, way out there isn't something that's wearable. It's like practically like, you know, down to the size of a contact lens. I'm not sure if anyone else has kind of speculated that, but if you could get Google Glass down to, you know, that doesn't, as I say, it doesn't look like this. It's either clips onto the side of your existing glasses, or it's that thin down to a contact lens, or it's, you know, a thin piece of plastic that you put over your existing glasses, like a little layer. It's like a digital layer that covers both eyes, and you know, those are just kind of crazy ideas that as I said, are misconceptions that it can do all this amazing stuff right now. I think Google's going to work on it and get there. It's a game changer. It's just like everything, things take longer than anticipated.
So we are now to the end. So what advice would you give to glass lovers like us who can't have glass yet, so they can get one?
Well, I guess do exactly as you're doing. Make friends with Glass Explorers. I know that Google's doing the same thing that they did with the Gmail invitations, right? Is giving out, I guess, inviting current Glass Explorers to invite other people to participate. Have you guys got an invitation yet?
No, we didn't get invited. We are looking forward to it, but it's really hard for us French to have a pair of glass, and I personally didn't even touch one yet.
Well, we got to figure that out. We got to sort that out for you. So I'll invite you, and I'll send you an email to invite you, and it'll be up to you to figure out how you actually get your hands on glass. Does that sound good?
It would be really great. It would be like a dream becoming true.
Very cool. Well, I'll send you the invitation. Mark my words.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. So here is the last question. In one word, what does Google Glass mean for you?
Google Glass means the future of technology.
All right, that's a great response, great answer. It's my favorite part of this show.
Yeah.
It's the teaser you show of GlassStories is based on this question.
That's not one word. Do you want me to try again?
No, no, no. It's really cool. Thank you very much, David Ciccarelli, for having been with us in this interview.
You're very
See
welcome. It was a pleasure being with you guys.
see you soon for the Glass Story interviews, and don't forget to check out our Twitter, our Facebook, and our page on Google Plus. And thanks for watching.
Hi again, guys. Hope you enjoyed watching the video. If you did, be sure to let us a comment. And don't forget you can watch the next Explorers interview clicking right here, or the previous clicking right there. Also, don't forget to check out the website GlassStories.com for more exciting stuff about what Google Glass is. Bye! Bye bye.